Hey Dan, we're just gonna just get started in
Good
about
morning.
5 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just reading the minutes.
Good man. Morning, General.
Morning, Brian. Can you hear me okay?
Sure can. Thanks for being here. I know you have a committee meeting in an hour, and I really appreciate you doing this.
Another one that has too many meetings online, huh?
Are you going in person?
I'm sorry.
Are you going to be in person at the post audit and oversight?
I am going to be in person.
Wow.
Yes.
Good luck. Well, we will give you plenty of time to cross the street.
Yeah, no worries. I appreciate that and the opportunity to speak with you and with the board.
I
Thank
appreciate
you.
that. No worries. Morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. While we wait, if you could just put your name and community in the chat, it'll help us take the minutes. Thank you. Seeing a good representation of folks. And if it's possible to rename yourself with your community, please go ahead and do that. And if you can't, let me know and I can do it for you. That way we can keep track. Welcome, Mayor Squalia. Thank you for joining.
Good morning.
And welcome, Mayor Lungo Cohen. Hello, Colette. Thanks for being here.
Morning,
And if
Brian.
everybody, if you just put your name in the chat and your community, please, and also rename yourself with your community if at all possible. That will help us take the minutes. Thank you. Everyone's coming in fast now as we go to 10:01. So let's see here now. Dispense. We have a great cross section here today. Folks from Cape Cod and Bourne and everywhere across the Commonwealth. So we really appreciate you being here. Folks from Worcester, Norfolk, Needham, Hingham, Hull. That's wonderful. We really appreciate you, everyone, taking the time. Todd Crane wins for the best background, as always. Hello, Todd. Hello, Rob Garrity. Let's see. We are almost at a quorum. Just need a few more minutes. And just a reminder, if you could put your name and your community in the chat, it will help us with the minutes. And if at all possible, add your community to your name on the screen. If you sort of hover over your picture, there'll be three little dots. You kind of click on that, and then you go down to rename, and you can add your community. That'll just help us as well with all the fun administrative stuff that we do behind the scenes. And when I say we, I don't mean me. Isabella does all of that yeoman's work, and I am incredibly grateful to her for that. And recently learned that she will be leaving us this summer to go to graduate school in London next fall. So while we are reticent to lose her, we're very excited, and I know that she'll be doing great things in the future. And if you can't embarrass the folks that work with you, then what's the point of having them, right? Yes, Colette, agreed.
That's wonderful news. Exciting.
She's great and will do Wellesley and do us very proud. So, Madam Mayor Brianna, we have a quorum, ma'am. If you would not mind calling us to order, I'll keep admitting folks, and then we can introduce the IG.
Sounds good. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Today we have an MBTA Advisory Board meeting, which is March 24th, 2026, 10 to 11. It is a Zoom meeting, and the meeting ID is 876-3375-3890. Brian, do you want to call the roll? Or
Since we're not taking any votes except on the minutes, I don't think we have to do that at this moment, ma'am.
Okay.
And the IG has a post-audit committee meeting to attend at 11, so I think we could jump straight to him if you don't mind.
Sounds good. Going to number B, Jeffrey S. Shapiro, Inspector General. IG Shapiro is the 5th Inspector General of the Commonwealth, taking office in 2023. In that time, the Office of Inspector General has spearheaded investigations into many MBTA and transportation-related matters, including MBTA privatized police dispatch, highway service plazas, commuter rail fare collection, and in numerous other areas. IG Shapiro's remarks will focus on lessons learned from these transportation-related investigations, his experiences visiting numerous Massachusetts municipalities, and suggestions for how organizations such as the MBTA Advisory Board can improve their oversight. Welcome, Inspector General.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair, Madam Mayor. Thank you also, Brian. It's great to be with all of you. Good morning. I am Jeffrey Shapiro. I'm the Commonwealth's Inspector General. As you've heard, I lead an independent, apolitical oversight agency charged with mitigating, investigating, and preventing fraud, waste, and abuse of public dollars and assets across municipal and state government within the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, which includes quasi-state agencies like the MBTA, Massport, and the MWRA as examples. Again, thank you, Brian. I appreciate the kind invitation that you extended to me to address this advisory board this morning. It's an honor to be with you, albeit remote, and with all of the members. Before I begin my remarks, I wanted to commend you on your outreach to the 177 communities that make up the MBTA Advisory Board. I have taken note, Brian, of your journey through your social media posts and through our conversations across the MBTA service area. In my view, there is nothing more important than these individual contacts with each of your members, but not just contacts with them within their own communities to learn firsthand what's on their mind. Since I was sworn in as the Commonwealth's 5th Inspector General in October of 2022, I have been on a continuous listening tour, like you, Brian, meeting with state and local stakeholders, one-on-one in their city or town halls. I think Mayor Longo Kern will be heading your way soon, and I look forward to that opportunity. I've been on this continuous listening tour because I think it's important to meet with stakeholders and local leaders one-on-one in their communities. I believe that the best decisions are not made from behind a desk in Boston, but instead after considering all the perspectives, which can only be done after meeting with people, understanding where they're coming from, and literally hearing their perspective and hearing about their pain points and concerns. Then and only then will the best decisions emerge. The MBTA, as I'm sure you're all aware, or you could guess, in my meetings, is a topic that regularly comes up. As I travel around the Commonwealth, speaking with and hearing from municipal leaders, the topic of the MBTA regularly comes up. While I'm in the eastern portion or the central portion of the Commonwealth, it's often about service. And when I'm in the western part of the state, it's often about all the money that the MBTA needs and all the transportation needs in those areas that they believe are otherwise unmet. I will not go into all of the actual facts here related to the MBTA, but I will focus on my concern with regard to leadership not being responsive. And what I can share with you is that in one of the communities that I visited, and I won't get into that specific name that community or the facts of its situation, but what I will say is a pain point was an issue involving the MBTA, and it was around the MBTA leadership and that community feeling that the leadership was not responsive to the inquiry. As this leader did not know where to turn, I asked if they had spoken to their representative on the MBTA advisory board. Not only had they not done so, but this community leader had no idea who their representative was, nor, truth be told, what exactly the MBTA advisory board was actually responsible for and how it could be of assistance. I share this not to be critical of that community, this board, or to the leadership of the advisory board, but simply to demonstrate that more communication is always valuable, as the turnover of municipal leadership occurs frequently due to the nature of such leadership roles. Once I called Brian on this situation, he quickly made all the right introductions. He helped get that community into direct contact with the MBTA leadership and got the community the answers that it was looking for. This is why communication among governmental stakeholders is key. The design of this advisory board is such that these MBTA communities should always know how to get questions and issues before the T's leadership. You may not always love that answer, but getting an answer should not be its own project. You may not realize this, but we share some of the same objectives. As Inspector General, I am mandated to prevent and detect fraud, waste, and abuse of public resources on the state and municipal level. To best serve this statutory mandate, in 2009, the legislature created a division within the Office of the Inspector General focused solely on transportation, both MassDOT and the MBTA. In addition to our core function, this unit, known as the Internal Special Audit Unit, of course, with a name like that, who would actually know that they have transportation oversight, or in fact, what exactly it is that they do? Nonetheless, the ISAU examines and assesses MassDOT's governance, risk management practices, and internal processes to ensure that they are adequate and effective. Additionally, the unit works with MassDOT to identify ways to lower costs, recover funds, stop wasteful spending, and so forth. And another team within the ISAU is focused on MBTA oversight and does similar work. Some of the issues that we've addressed in this space include time theft investigations, fare collection practices, procurement reviews, contract management, and contract reviews. Secretary General Manager Ng is to be applauded for the work that he has done. He is the first MBTA general manager in a long while that is an engineer, not just in heart, but by education and training too. He truly understands what makes a railroad operate. Nonetheless, like you, we at the OIG are keenly aware that much more must be done, both in terms of improving and maintaining the daily operations, and with regard to the execution of the capital plan in order to grow, maintain, and improve the system. There are also a number of major projects on the horizon: the Draw One Bridge and the upcoming commuter rail operations procurement and resulting contract, to name just two. So it is essential that some of the recurring issues that we have identified through our review of the privatization contracts are addressed. Later this week, I am looking forward to hearing directly from the MBTA's Chief Administrative Officer about the improvements he and his team have made across the T to improve procurements, contract management, and the 8 to 10 other areas of responsibility that he has. Fare collection matters. Additionally, as you may know, since I have not kept a secret of my concern about the seemingly haphazard approach to fare collection, I believe that fare collection is a critical step. While it will not close the fiscal gap at the MBTA, I do believe that doing this well will and does demonstrate to the governor's administration and the legislative leadership to which the team must turn to close the funding gap, just how strong or not a fiscal steward the MBTA is with public funds. For example, the South Coast Rail was built from scratch, without fare gates, and the lack of forethought about fare collection on the Green Line extension, in my opinion, are both issues. The above ground Green Line trains have limited structural controls to monitor and enforce fare collection. And the GLX was built with an overly optimistic view of the timing that a new fare collection system would be operable, which unfortunately was not the right bet. Thus, the station to design does not allow for loading using the front doors of the vehicles, making the strongest location for strong fare collection to be one that is inoperable. The privatization waiver, as was mentioned in the introduction, some of you may recall in 2015, then Governor Baker signed the MBTA privatization waiver, which under the Taxpayer Protection Act allowed the T to forego an advance privatization analysis by the Office of the State Auditor for a period of 3 years. This allowed the MBTA to bypass the traditional privatization process, often known as the Pacheco law, and required the OIG to conduct a review of the privatized contracts, but only after the last dollar was spent. While it is a little like closing the door after the horse is out of the barn, we have learned some valuable lessons nonetheless. So far, the OIG has reviewed 4 of the 7 contracts that were entered into during this time period. And from those reviews, we have found a concerning lack of basic business management practices: an absent management contract with work partners, a police dispatch contract with IXP Corporation, the transit ambassador contract with Block by Block, the customer service call center contracts with Excella that later was a subsequent new contract with Global Contact Services. These basic functions are essential to ensuring that the government receives the goods and services it needs for the agreed upon price and for the quality standards that were set forth. First and foremost, the MBTA knew when these contracts were procured and executed that they would be reviewed by the Office of the Inspector General. So one would think, once again, that they would have done a better job. That probably concerns me the most. If they aren't, these are the contracts that they, in essence, knew we were going to be looking at. It's kind of like the teacher telling the student which homework assignments of many he, she, or they were going to look at for grading, and the student didn't then do those. If they aren't doing well with the procurement files and contract management with the contracts that they clearly knew we were going to look at in great detail, it begs the question about how their other contracts and procurements might be doing, and how well those would fare such scrutiny. Going into all the issues we identified would take much longer than we have this morning, but I will share a few examples that illustrate my point. In each of these reviews conducted thus far, we were frustrated by a lack of records that were necessary to understand how and why decisions were made. In many instances, they viewed an acceptable answer as the person who did the procurement didn't work there anymore. They couldn't find things, or it was a long time ago. For example, we were unable to determine if a procurement evaluation and a selection process was fair because there were inadequate records documenting the process. Again, I remind you, they knew this procurement was going to be reviewed from day one, and they consistently did not record meeting minutes properly, did not retain documents, as I noted, and staffing levels and other vital information was missing. In some contracts, the MBTA did not develop performance matrix as part of its procurement or contract administration. Penalties and incentives to drive vendor performance were lacking, and absent these matrix, the MBTA would have no way of actually evaluating the quality of services provided by the vendor. One such example is in its contract with the transit ambassadors. Those are the folks that you'll recognize in the stations that wear the red uniforms. During that particular contract, the MBTA required the vendor to perform an elevator check, which was the result of litigation from the disability community with regard to access to MBTA stations and vehicles. Nonetheless, while that was a requirement within the contract, it was never clear what exactly an elevator check was. Did that mean that they would push the button once during a shift and see if it arrived? Did it mean if it was clear and operable? Did it mean it needed to be recorded? Did it mean that it would have to, if it was broken, that a service call would go out? It was very unclear what the responsibility for the transit ambassadors were, and what, in fact, the MBTA was supposed to do, or if they ever actually had that happen. Thus, it made it very difficult to evaluate if, in fact, that was a valuable service and if it was done correctly. The MBTA also lacks a standard invoice review process, which results in some instances in overpayments. In some cases, the individuals reviewing and approving the invoices were not familiar with the contract terms. In one contract, this resulted in the MBTA making an overpayment to a vendor of $222,000. While that may seem like a relatively small number in the overall MBTA budget, I firmly believe that how you treat $1 is how you treat all dollars. We are always discussing the importance of contract management with the MBTA. Accountability and oversight. Like the OIG, as advisory board members, you each provide accountability and public oversight of the MBTA on behalf of the people of your 177 communities. As such, I encourage you as board members to review our reports if you have not already done so. Use the information you learn to ask questions when reviewing the MBTA budget. These reports are on our website, which, while not easy to navigate, I am pleased to say that later this spring, we will be launching a new website, which I am confident will make finding our reports and our information much easier and much more streamlined and far more intuitive. We also include Brian on our distribution list for our transportation reports. And if you haven't already, you could certainly talk with Brian about how those are accessed and shared with you, but we're happy to make those available. I think, as in many instances, knowledge is power, and knowing what's on our mind and what our concerns are is but one source, but I think can help you do your oversight work. As board members, you have the authority and you have the duty to question the MBTA's management about its stewardship of public funds. You represent the communities affected by the MBTA's decisions, the people who rely on its services to travel. You have a voice, and it's a really strong and important voice. You should use it. Many of our investigations have found that even if one person had asked a question somewhere along the way, is a real possibility that the outcome would have or could have been different. Thus, reducing fraud, waste, and abuse can happen if we all play our assigned roles and ask questions. In public boards, in some of our investigations of public boards, not necessarily related to the MBTA, but across the Commonwealth and municipal government, we have found that board members are not aware of their roles, their authority, and their responsibilities. I can understand as service on a public board is time consuming and often performed in addition to other full-time responsibilities or full-time positions. Nonetheless, I would suggest that people shouldn't say yes when asked to serve if they cannot fulfill the role. Our office offers a guidebook on how to be an effective member of a public board, and we offer webinars as well. These are available on the booklet is available digitally as a PDF on our website, and we also have print copies that are available upon request. And we as an office are available and are always happy to hear your particular concerns. Again, I encourage you to ask questions and, more importantly, demand answers. And if the answer you get doesn't make sense or it's not satisfactory, you should ask for another answer. You may not always like the answer that you get in the end, but you should be asking. And by you asking questions, you play a powerful role. You are the people's voice. And I also believe it's healthy in a public board. Everything doesn't have to be a unanimous vote. Progress can move forward with those that disagree. expressing that view. In conclusion, thank you for serving on the MBTA Advisory Board and in the many other ways you serve the public and your communities. We thank you, especially in these times when less people want to be civically engaged. I encourage you to, again, look for our letters and our reports and use them to help you do this important work. I thank you, Madam Chair, for inviting me. I thank you, Brian, for this opportunity. Brian, I thank you and your team for the invaluable service that you play in serving this board and our communities and the public who rely upon the MBTA. As the board's website indicates, uh, the MBTA advisory board, among its many roles, is keeping the MBTA accountable. And I think that that's a common objective that you and this office share. And I look forward to having opportunities to continue to collaborate and communicate on our shared vision and our shared values. While I know you have other matters to address this morning, I'm happy to certainly take a few questions if you'd like, but I appreciate having the opportunity to have shared some of my thoughts with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Inspector General. That was very insightful. We appreciate the hard work. Are there any
Thank
questions?
you. Thank you.
Yes. Any questions for the Inspector General? As that was a lot to digest. Brian.
Thank you, ma'am. In general, thank you again. And I just wanted to note how many times myself and our staff have been out visiting communities, and I've heard folks say, "Oh, the IG was just here," and he suggested similar things. So I appreciate your kind words, and I agree that getting out and meeting folks where they are is really one of the most important things that anyone in government can do. I know that the elected officials on this Zoom know that and spend a lot of time at community events in their cities and their towns. And I also just wanted to thank you and note that we have folks here today from Cape Cod and the South Coast, up on the New Hampshire border. We have folks from Worcester. We have folks from all over the 178 cities and towns that make up the service district. So you're quite a draw, IG. I know that you have a Senate post audit hearing to attend shortly. And so, Madam Mayor, perhaps we could let the IG go if unless there's any additional questions.
Yes, thanks. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Brian, and thank you to all the members. I really value your service, appreciate the time that you shared with me. And for those that are on this call that I've met with, I was looking as you were signing in, there are a number of those that I've met personally with, and I appreciate your service. And those that I haven't, I will be there soon. There's 351 of you, and there's one of me. So it takes a little bit of time, but we're working on it. I look forward to that. I get tremendous energy from those meetings. And in fact, we've learned so many things that have become changes to the statute that we've advocated for. Sometimes some of them we've been successfully able to change the law. Others are policies and procedures that we've changed within our own office, including the one free designee for procurement officials to get their certification. So I look forward to continuing those conversations because I know for certain that while it gives you an opportunity to be heard, I know that it makes me a better Inspector General for having put the effort in. Again, thank you so much, and invite me back another time. I'm happy to do it. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about service plazas and MassDOT. So I will continue my transportation work. Thanks so much and have a great day.
You
Bye.
too. Thank you. Todd?
Yeah, this was just a question to everyone. I don't know if you've all experienced this, but in Medford, we've experienced this where the community, the residents are usually confused on what our role, the MBTA Advisory Board, is. And they oftentimes confuse us with the MassDOT Board of Directors, thinking we're like an MBTA Board of Directors, Whenever they get to me individually, I always provide the link to our website and the link to the MassDOT Board of Directors to explain the difference between the two. But that's a common thing amongst the residents and citizens.
Yeah.
So
I
with that being said,
agree.
I don't know if it's ever been considered to look at the name of the advisory board, because once it starts with MBTA, they think we're part of the MBTA. I don't know.
Well, Todd, I 100% agree. And I can't tell you the number of times that it's a little bit less now, but certainly when I first started doing this, we got 411 calls from folks wanting to know where the bus was. Um, it is in the statute what our name is. I think, and I'll actually talk about this later agenda item. It's worth us considering and getting some folks to who do this professionally to think about sort of a new name or a doing business as name. Because I agree with you, and trust me, at dinner parties I hear a lot about service levels and spending and all sorts of stuff that's not related to what the advisory board does. So it is something that I do think we need to consider. And I know my colleague Hannah Switoltowski, who in addition to working here serves on the Sharon Select Board, hears it as well. Folks think that she sort of runs the tea, and she hears it. I know it is something that we should probably work on. So thank you for bringing it up, and we'll sort of try to work that into the next evaluation, which we'll be talking about in two agenda items.
Thank you. Yes, we have C, minutes, discussion and action on the minutes of the December 16th, 2025 meeting. For anybody's has a motion on the floor.
Yeah, I'll make that motion. Dan Salvucci from Whitman.
Motion for approval by Dan Salvucci. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Stephen from Westwood, thank you. All those in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. We have D, State Retirement System, discussion and action to accept the provisions of Section 1 through 28, inclusive of the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 32, and to authorize the Executive Director to transmit proof of such to the Public Employee Retirement Administrative Commission. Brian, I turn it over to you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So, quick note: the Budget and Audit Committee heard this yesterday and voted unanimously to recommend that the full board also approve it. In 2022, also related to the next agenda item, some of you folks might remember we did a business process review and organizational assessment of the operation. It came out with a long list of recommendations and goals and objectives that we have been slowly working through over the last 4 years. One of the big ones was that the organization should join the Group Insurance Commission and the Massachusetts State Retirement System. And the thinking behind that was that it would help recruit the next sort of set of employees that will work for you at the board. Right now, sort of service time is not transferable between service on the advisory board and service for service in the state system. It is for lots of other similar organizations such as MEPC and the MWRA. And so that recommendation made sense at the time. Leadership sort of encouraged me to move forward with it. Legislation was filed twice, and ultimately, the governor ended up putting it in an outside section of the fiscal 25 supplemental budget, which passed last fall. So that legislation allowed the advisory board to enter into the Group Insurance Commission and the Mass State Retirement System. Naively, I thought that once the legislation was passed, it would just sort of happen. Boy, was I wrong. We've only just begun. So I've learned that an organization cannot join the GIC without first being in the state retirement system, the MSRB. So speaking with folks at the MSRB and sort of pulling information out of them slowly, it's been I've been informed that in order to start the process, the governing body of the organization, which is you folks, must adopt the provisions of the law that governs it. I think attached, you saw we have a letter from our general counsel, Jennifer DePazzo Gilbert, who is the former town council for the town of Brookline. She's been our GC for 5 or 6 years now. And basically, you can read that letter. She sort of suggests some vote language, which we've incorporated into this item. Basically, that you authorize me to transmit to the retirement folks that the advisory board accepts the provisions of the law that we have to accept in order to move forward to get the 3 employees we have to join the state system. I think I'm too old at this point to have any benefit for me. So this is really about the next generation of folks who will work here to serve you. So if you don't mind, ma'am, the vote language, I would respectfully request you seek a motion and a second on is that the MBTA Advisory Board accepts the provisions of sections 1 through 28, inclusive of the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 32, and authorizes the executive director to file a duly attested copy of such vote and the related meeting minutes and any other information or documentation requested by the Public Employee Retirement Administration Commission in order to certify that MBTA Advisory Board employees may become members of the state retirement system.
So moved.
Second.
Motion for approval by Joseph Fisher from Hingham. And who was the second?
Duncan. Needham. Duncan Allen.
Duncan Allen Needham. Brian, I would just ask for a roll call vote if that's how you have to really supposed to do it on Zoom.
Yes, ma'am.
Yep.
Give me a second to pull up the roster. Thank you. If anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to do this. So we're going to do the roll call, and it's by community. Steve, I see your hand.
Yeah, so the obvious question is, how will this affect the advisory board budget?
Yeah, unknown. So currently, we do make contributions to the employees' individual retirement accounts through which is 8% of pay, which is something that's been a long-standing sort of policy here at the advisory board. That's the way it was when I started working at the advisory board in the early 2000s. This will obviously change. I don't know what the financial ramifications are, but I think it will be less than what is currently paid. Same with the GIC. I don't actually take health insurance through the advisory board, so the cost will be minimal to the employees that do ultimately take it. So I think it's a really good question, Steve. I don't have the specifics, but it's something that we'll have to figure out as part of the next budget process in December.
Colette?
Thanks, Mayor Brianna. I was just going to add to that, Brian. When we get the costs, Steve, maybe the budget and audit committee can look at what that looks like for the advisory board and set up a policy for it, whether it's going to be borne fully by the advisory board or some sort of level of cost sharing with the employee. But we can evaluate that when we have more information.
100% agree. 100%. Okay, so I'm going to call the roll. There's 178 communities. I'm going to call by community. And so bear with me. We'll try to go quickly. Acton. I know Acton's here. At least they were. Okay. Acton, Amesbury, Andover, Arlington.
Arlington, yes.
Ashburnham, Ashby, Ashland, Attleboro, Auburn, Air, Bedford, Bellingham, Belmont, Berkeley, Beverly, Billerica, Boston, Bourne.
Probably
Yes,
muted.
Born left, I guess. They were here. Canton, Chris Bogursky.
Yes.
Thank you, Chris. Let's see. Concord, Danvers, Dedham, Dover, Drake at Duxbury, Bridgewater. Good Lord, there's a lot of towns. Let's see. Fitchburg, Mayor Squalia.
Can we vote in the chat, Brian? Would that be acceptable if we have the ayes in the chat first, the nays in the chat? That's how MAPC does it. That might be acceptable because it's a record that you can download. If the chair feels that's okay.
I think anything is preferable to this, Colette. So
Sure. Yeah, that's good. If you could put yes or no in the chat, and
thank you, Colette. You're a lifesaver.
I just know we need a record or something like this.
No, I appreciate that, ma'am.
Yeah, there's only 26 of us on, so we'll let everybody keep voting. It looks like it's been approved. There are no reports of committee. Our next meeting is Tuesday, April 28th, 2026, 10 a.m. via Zoom.
Just to note, ma'am, that we've been up to a good start in 2026. Rapid transit, passenger rail, CIP, ferry, operating budget oversight, climate, and the budget audit committees have all met. And we're going to sort of ramping up as we come into budget season for the T and the CIP. So we will be seeing a lot more of you fine folks in April, May, and early June. I know it's also budget seasons in your communities, but hey, that's the way the legislature made the schedule. God love them. But as the Inspector General said, we're incredibly grateful to all of you for your volunteering on this and on countless other civic organizations. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Same to you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved.
By Alan Duncan and seconded by Daniel Silvucci.
Yeah.
All those in favor with a raise of the hand?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Have a wonderful rest of the week, everybody.
Thank you, man.
Yeah,
Well,
Brian,
too.
put me down as a yes, Dan from Whitman. I didn't know how to do it.
Okay, no problem, Dan.
No
Okay.
worries,
We
Dan.
gotcha. Thank
you.
you.
Tough
Thanks,
being
everybody.
old.